What if I told you George Lucas, the visionary who built a galaxy far, far away, might be returning to Star Wars? The creator of the Force, Jedi, and Sith could be stepping back into the universe he made iconic. This isn't just speculation, it's coming from Roger Christian, the man who brought the lightsaber to life. In a recent interview, Christian hinted at Lucas's involvement in an upcoming live-action project that could be a turning point for the franchise. Could this be the move that reignites the spark for millions of fans? Stay with us, because today we're diving into what could be the most groundbreaking Star Wars revelation in years. This revelation comes from none other than Roger Christian, the visionary behind the creation of the lightsaber, arguably the most iconic weapon in all of science fiction. Christian, who worked closely with Lucas during the original trilogy, recently dropped an intriguing piece of information during an interview. He hinted, rather cautiously, that George Lucas could be involved in an upcoming live-action Star Wars project. While it wasn't framed as a definitive announcement, his carefully chosen words, "From what I hear, George will have something to do with it," were enough to set the Star Wars fandom abuzz with speculation and excitement. Let's take a moment to appreciate Roger Christian's connection to this galaxy far, far away. He's not just a behind-the-scenes figure, he's an Academy Award-winning set designer and filmmaker who collaborated intimately with Lucas during Star Wars' formative years. His deep ties to the franchise make his words carry immense weight, especially when discussing something as monumental as Lucas's potential return. Now think about this: Christian isn't just passing along idle gossip. He's someone who has been in Lucas's creative orbit for decades and maintains a close friendship with him. If anyone outside George's inner circle were to have insight into his plans, it would be Roger Christian. But what really fuels the speculation is Christian's mention of Lucas being physically present on Star Wars sets recently. This isn't just a casual visit to relive old memories, it suggests a level of engagement that goes beyond mere nostalgia. Could Lucas be laying the groundwork for a new live-action project? Is this his chance to rekindle the magic and bring back the creative spark that defined the original trilogy? For fans, the idea of George Lucas returning isn't just exciting, it's transformative. His involvement could signal a new era for Star Wars, one where the original vision of the galaxy takes center stage once more. It's a tantalizing thought, one that raises more questions than answers. What kind of project could it be? Will it align with Lucas's earlier visions for the series? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of the franchise and its relationship with its loyal fanbase? The possibilities are endless, and the potential impact is nothing short of extraordinary. With Roger Christian's insight sparking these discussions, one thing is clear: something big might be on the horizon, and it could very well bring the Star Wars universe full circle under the guidance of its original creator. Could George Lucas be quietly working behind the scenes, crafting something that could redefine Star Wars? Imagine the weight of such a moment, like J.R.R. Tolkien returning to write another chapter of The Lord of the Rings. This isn't just an intriguing piece of gossip, it's the kind of revelation that could reshape the franchise and rekindle the passion of millions of fans worldwide. What makes this even more fascinating is how this bombshell nearly slipped under the radar. Roger Christian's comment came during a lengthy interview, almost as a subtle aside, but when you really listen to him speak, there's a palpable sincerity in his tone. It doesn't feel like casual speculation, it feels deliberate, like there's substance behind his words. Now let's step back and ask the question we're all thinking: could George Lucas really return to the Star Wars universe? It's a prospect so monumental, it's hard to fully grasp. Lucas isn't just the creator of Star Wars, he's its heart, its soul, its architect. He built this galaxy not just as a filmmaker, but as a mythmaker. Think about the magnitude of his contribution. In 1977, Lucas didn't simply release a blockbuster movie, he created an enduring mythology. He wove elements of classical storytelling, spiritual philosophy, and universal archetypes into a rich, immersive universe. Characters like Luke Skywalker, the reluctant hero, and Darth Vader, the tragic villain, became more than just figures in a story, they became cultural symbols, transcending generations. If Lucas is truly considering a return, it signals something profound: a restoration of vision. The Star Wars universe, while expansive under Disney's stewardship, has often felt inconsistent. While standout projects like Rogue One and The Mandalorian captured the essence of Star Wars, others, particularly the sequel trilogy, have been divisive. The lack of a unified vision left many fans yearning for the cohesion and depth that defined the original trilogy. George Lucas stepping back into the fold, even in a limited capacity, could be the spark that reignites the franchise's original magic. His involvement wouldn't just be a creative decision, it would be a statement, a return to the roots of what made Star Wars so beloved. For fans, this isn't just exciting, it's the kind of news that restores hope for a franchise that's always been about hope, redemption, and the power of storytelling. If George Lucas were to return, even in a limited advisory capacity, it could inject the kind of unified vision that Star Wars desperately needs. Just imagine the ripple effect of such an announcement: a press release, a teaser, or even a simple statement declaring George Lucas is working on a new Star Wars project. That moment would be seismic. Fans who've drifted away disillusioned by the sequels, the uneven reception of The Mandalorian Season 3, or the overall inconsistency of recent projects would instantly take notice. It wouldn't just reignite interest, it would be a unifying call to arms for the fandom, a surge of hope for a franchise in search of stability. But this wouldn't just be about leaning on nostalgia. Lucas has always been a visionary, someone who looks forward as much as he honors the past. Remember, he pioneered the Clone Wars, which at the time was seen as a bold and innovative expansion of the Star Wars universe. And let's not forget his unrealized plans to explore the very origins of the Force and the Jedi, a concept he envisioned long before selling Lucasfilm to Disney. Interestingly, Disney now appears to be circling back to some of those ideas with their Dawn of the Jedi project. Could George Lucas be quietly involved, perhaps lending his original vision to this storyline? The timing feels almost too perfect to dismiss as coincidence. Imagine him bringing to life his concept of the Force's inception, the era when it was first discovered and the Jedi Order was born. Such a project wouldn't just honor Lucas's legacy, it would serve as a bridge between the foundational elements of Star Wars and its modern interpretations. However, Lucas's return would likely come with conditions. This is a man who famously walked away from Lucasfilm not just to retire, but to avoid compromising his creative vision. Disney's decision to shelve his ideas for the sequel trilogy remains one of the most contentious moments in the franchise's history. If Lucas does step back into the fold, it's hard to imagine him doing so without guarantees of creative autonomy, of freedom to shape the story as he sees fit. The implications of his involvement would extend far beyond a single project. George Lucas's return would set the tone for the franchise, offering a roadmap that combines authenticity with innovation. It could inspire other key creators like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to dig deeper into the rich legacy of Star Wars, knowing they have the support to craft stories true to its core values. This isn't just about reviving fan enthusiasm, it's about restoring Star Wars to its roots while boldly charting its future. If Lucas can bring that balance, his return would mark not just a turning point for the franchise, but a moment of redemption for all those who've remained loyal to the galaxy far, far away. But here's where it gets interesting: the divide in reactions to George Lucas's potential return isn't just about nostalgia or criticism of the prequels, it's about what his return symbolizes for Star Wars as a whole. For many fans, George represents a singular creative vision, a cohesive mythology that ties everything in the galaxy together. Even at its most divisive moments, his work carried a sense of purpose and authenticity. Contrast that with the post-Disney era. While projects like The Mandalorian and Rogue One have found success, the overall trajectory of Star Wars has felt fragmented. The sequel trilogy left fans divided not just over plot choices, but over what Star Wars as a franchise had become. Lucas's return feels like the antidote to that, a way to bring Star Wars back to its roots while paving the way forward with a renewed sense of direction. And for those who question whether his return could repeat the polarizing reception of the prequels, it's worth remembering how perceptions have shifted. What was once criticized has now been embraced by a new generation who grew up with those films. To them, the prequels aren't just movies, they're foundational pieces of their Star Wars experience. Seeing George come back to build the future of the galaxy they've always loved would be a full circle moment. Still, skepticism remains. There's a vocal minority asking whether George can deliver in a modern cinematic landscape. Would his ideas resonate today, or would they clash with the current direction of the franchise? These are valid concerns, but they also miss a crucial point: George Lucas doesn't have to do it alone. His return wouldn't mean sidelining creators like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who have already shown their deep respect for his legacy. Instead, it could mean a collaboration where Lucas provides the visionary spark while others handle the execution. And then there's the undeniable ripple effect of Lucas's involvement. Fans who felt alienated by the sequels might see his return as a reason to reinvest in Star Wars. It's not just about the projects he'd work on, it's about the statement his return would make that the franchise is ready to honor its roots while embracing innovation. Ultimately, George Lucas's potential return is about more than just one man coming back to the galaxy he created. It's about reigniting a sense of unity within the fandom, restoring trust in the direction of Star Wars, and rekindling the passion that has made this universe a cultural phenomenon for nearly half a century. Whether as a storyteller, an advisor, or even just a guiding presence, Lucas could be the key to bringing balance to the Force and to the fandom itself. If George Lucas were to return, his involvement could take many forms, each carrying its own potential impact. Would he take a hands-on approach, perhaps writing or directing a new project? Or would he serve as an advisor, offering guidance to current creators like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau? Either way, his return would undoubtedly bring a renewed sense of purpose and authenticity to Star Wars. Imagine Lucas mentoring a new generation of filmmakers, ensuring the franchise stays true to the mythology he built while also encouraging bold, fresh storytelling. This could be the reset button fans have been yearning for, a way to course correct after years of divisive narratives. Under Disney's leadership, the Star Wars franchise has certainly had its moments, with films like Rogue One and shows like The Mandalorian earning widespread acclaim. But it's also faced significant challenges, from the polarizing reception of the sequel trilogy to the struggles with maintaining a cohesive vision across multiple projects. Lucas's return could act as a unifying force, providing the franchise with the long-term direction it's been missing. And while the corporate dynamics at Disney might limit his creative freedom, the mere fact of his involvement could influence the decisions being made at the highest levels. It's not just about nostalgia, it's about legacy. George Lucas represents the soul of Star Wars, and his return could serve as a rallying point for fans and creators alike. But there's also a strategic element to consider. Disney is undoubtedly aware of the mixed reception to its recent Star Wars projects, and the timing of this speculation feels deliberate. Could this be a calculated move to gauge fan interest and pave the way for Lucas's return? If so, it shows that Disney understands the power of the Star Wars brand and the importance of reconnecting with its core audience. As fans, we can only speculate about what Lucas's involvement might look like. Could he finally explore his long-discussed ideas about the origins of the Force, or perhaps revisit characters and storylines left unresolved in the current canon? Whatever the case, one thing is clear: George Lucas's presence would reignite hope and excitement within the Star Wars community, and in a galaxy far, far away, hope is where every great story begins. Lucas's storytelling has always been about the heart of Star Wars, an expansive, emotionally resonant universe that touches on universal themes of good versus evil, destiny, and personal growth. His films weren't perfect, but they felt authentic. They were driven by a vision that sought to enrich the mythology rather than simply update it for modern tastes. While the sequels introduced exciting new characters and settings, many felt they lacked the same emotional depth and timeless quality that made the original trilogy stand out. George Lucas had a knack for weaving complex, layered stories that didn't shy away from philosophical questions and moral dilemmas. It's this authenticity that many fans feel is missing from the current Star Wars offerings. Lucas's vision wasn't about appeasing every audience, it was about creating something grand, something that would last. The prequels, for example, have seen a resurgence in appreciation precisely because they were unapologetically George's vision. Whether you loved or hated them, there was a singular, consistent thread running through them, something that many feel has been missing in the Disney era. Even with all its flaws, the prequels had a sense of purpose, a focus on themes like the rise of the Sith, the fall of Anakin Skywalker, and the political intrigue surrounding the collapse of the Republic. That's why the idea of Lucas returning isn't just about nostalgia, it's about bringing back that authenticity and vision to a franchise that, for some, has drifted too far from its roots. If he were to step in again, especially with the expanding canon of projects under development, it could offer a chance to recalibrate. Whether it's exploring the deep lore of the Force or delving into the intricacies of the Jedi and Sith orders, there's an opportunity to finally answer questions and add layers to the mythos that have been left unexplored for far too long. In this sense, George Lucas could be the missing puzzle piece that restores balance to the franchise. After all, no one else has the history, the vision, or the understanding of the universe quite like he does. His involvement would serve as a reminder of the magic that made Star Wars the cultural juggernaut it is today, a return to the heart of what Star Wars always stood for. If George Lucas were to return, it could truly reshape the future of Star Wars. The idea of him providing a cohesive vision, one that ties everything together and honors the essence of the galaxy he created, is exactly what many fans have been yearning for. For so long, Star Wars has felt fragmented, with different projects trying to find their own voice but often missing the familiar, unifying touch that only Lucas could bring. He understands the intricate balance of blending new ideas with the core values that made Star Wars resonate with generations. And let's face it, while the corporate pressures at Disney are always going to be there, George Lucas has never been one to shy away from challenges. Whether he's stepping in as a guiding force or taking the reins in some capacity, his return would signal a bold new chapter for Star Wars, one that could restore its former glory while still embracing the modern era. The possibilities are exciting and the stakes are high. So what does this mean for the future of the franchise? Would George Lucas's return fix the mistakes of the past, or would it introduce new challenges we haven't yet anticipated? Fans have a lot of questions. Some are excited at the thought of a more cohesive Star Wars universe under Lucas's watch. Others worry about how much freedom he'd really have under Disney's control. Will he truly be able to take Star Wars back to its roots, or will the corporate machine stifle his vision? And importantly, can Lucas's storytelling balance modern sensibilities without losing the essence that made Star Wars timeless? I want to know what you think. Is George Lucas the key to fixing Star Wars, or is it too late for a return to the past? Will he be able to steer the franchise back into the light, or will the challenges of the modern landscape prove too difficult to overcome? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the potential return of George Lucas, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss out on more thought-provoking discussions.